So I have this fabulous ancient Pontiac front bumper, complete with a pre-bent, dented, and rusted vintage California license plate. The plan is to get that up there. But first, I got to do some bracketizing. I'm also thinking some yellow or green LED lights on each side would be awesome at night. What I want to try and do, I don't drop this thing, is that bracket there, and there's a matching one on the other side right there. I want to try and fabric cobble something out of my scrap hoard, because those are pointed down at an angle. I've got to get something on there that's solid that will attach to the oops, sorry, shaky cam. Attached to the frame structure that's just above the sheet metal on the header of my big garage door there. So let me dig around and see what I got, and see if we can't make something. So I took my 3-pound Halliburton cross-peen hammer, did a little persuading on some of the bent portions of this bumper, because this thing was kind of twisted and caused this bracket to really point downwards. So I kind of untwisted it a little bit using brute force. Then I took the hammer and whacked these brackets up, both of them, up a little bit. Then I dug into the hoard. What I'm going to do, of course I'll have to cut this to length, but I will use the existing bolt holes in those brackets, bolt this chunk at an angle after I cut it to length, if I can get it to stay put. Take this piece of channel iron left over from the screen house project, weld that to the back side. I'll have to cut this to length also. And then drill a couple of bolt holes in it, both sides, so I can drill through the structure just above that red trim up there. Drill through the structure and run bolts through that. Bolt it up there. The biggest challenge I have is doing this by myself. How am I going to suspend that heavy bumper up there while I'm dinking around with drills and bolts? I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. So you've all seen me cut material and clean it up with a grinder a million times. So I'm not going to bore you with, you know, cleaning rust and paint off of this stuff. I'll bring you back when I get ready to do the bolting and welding part of this. Right hammer for the job. So I'm just going to tack these brackets together right now. Then pull the truck out, lay this thing on the floor, and see how even, how flat these things lay. In case I have to adjust them a little bit. Loosen that bolt, adjust them a little bit so they'll lay flat once they're up against the wall. Well, I hope my idea is going to work. When I bring this in, lay it on the floor, I may have to loosen this, you know, and adjust it. Get this thing to sit flat, because it's got to sit flat against the wall up above. I may have to do some notching and trimming. And, but I think this idea is going to work. It's just a simple, oh, you can't see, my shadow's in the way. Just a simple L-shaped bracket. I drilled holes on both of those. What I did was shut the garage door, climbed up inside, and measured. You can't see them, but just on the other side of that little red piece of trim, there's a series of self-tappers that hold the sheet metal to the structure inside. I measured the structure inside up from those screws where they came through. And I had about 1.5 inches of room to play. So I took one of these brackets up above, set it adjacent to those screws holding the sheet metal, and then measured up from the screw 1.5 inches and drilled the hole. So when I set this up there, I match marked the holes to the structure up above, then drill through it. I should be in the right spot, but you never know. I mean, I cut it and cut it and cut it, and it's still too short, so we'll see what happens. After some gentle persuasion, this bumper and its new brackets are sitting flat on the floor, which means it will sit flat on the outside wall up above. Originally, I had planned to put these underneath out of sight. The only problem is I can't reach underneath to bolt things up. I suppose I could on the outside with that bolt hole, but you know, when you're standing up on a ladder fighting nuts and bolts, not really what I want to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint those brackets the same color as the sheet metal, corrugated sheet metal siding that's on the shop, so it'll blend in. And then when I'm up there bolting, I'm not going to be fighting, you know, trying to reach into an inaccessible area to put in bolts while I'm balancing on a ladder, holding one end of this bumper. I am probably going to have to add something in the center, another bracket mounted to the wall and then attached probably to this bracket here. So, you know, when the wind's blowing, this thing's not rocking like that. And that'll give me 3 good points of contact. So, but first of all, now that I've got this persuaded and tweaked and those brackets laying flat, I'm going to pull them off the bumper, finish welding them, and then I get some paint on them, and then I'll visit a third type of bracket for the center. Okay, these are all welded up and cleaned up. I'm going to bolt them back onto the bumper one more time, make sure nothing tweaked a little bit from welding heat, make sure they're still flat, and then I'm going to paint them up. And I think what I'm going to do is do some fancy measuring from the center, and then I'll probably bolt these brackets by themselves up to the wall outside, or maybe not. Well, I got to think about it a little bit because I'm going to have trouble getting in and getting to those bolts there. I got to think about that a little bit. But hey, the brackets are ready for paint. Well, I would say that's a pretty close match. I wanted satin, but all the hardware store had was gloss. So, and the siding on the shops had a couple years exposure to the Arizona sun, so it's faded a little bit, but I think that's going to work. That's going to obscure these brackets enough that when you look up at that bumper grill assembly hanging over the door, you're going to see that as opposed to brackets. So the purpose of this guy is the third bracket in the center, and it's going to attach to the rib of the siding like so. I'll drill a hole top and bottom for the self-tappers, and then I'm going to weld a flat bar piece right on here, drill a hole in it, and then I can either use a tie wire or flat bar to go from that to the existing bracket in the center of that bumper grill assembly. And that'll give me 3 points of contact to mount this thing. I don't sound happy. A Gorilla Glob with the best of them. It's really embarrassing when you film something and you forget to turn your gas bottle on your welder. And but hey, I show everything. If I screw up, I show it. I don't care. You know, I want to keep this as realistic as possible. But hey, this little bracket turned out really well. Okay, the paint is done. So I'm going to grab my little impact, some extensions and sockets, and go out and pull the parking lights out of that bumper. Well, I opted to go with my ratchet instead. That's kind of rusty down in there, and I don't want to risk stripping that out or rounding off the screws. So, yeah. I'll just do it old school here and get those out of there. Prepare for some sketchy redneckery. Oh, and don't try this at home. So far the concept is working, although I do got to adjust a little bit because it's a little cattywampus. I do have a load leveler, but that'll take up too much length when I get close to the top. So I'll just readjust this. Almost there. As Waylon Wire would say, what could possibly go wrong? Well, what could possibly go wrong did go wrong. I got this up there and I discovered that the spacing between these ribs on the siding panels up above interfered with the brackets that I made just enough that I couldn't get this to sit flat against the wall. So what I'm gonna do, pull all these bolts out, take this bracket and turn it 180 degrees so it's pointing that way. So when I mount the bracket on it, it'll be farther inside those ribs. And it was the, the degree angle on these ribs. The brackets were hitting right about there. So, yeah, by turning those existing brackets on the bumper in, that'll get me over here where I need to be. So, yeah, first attempt, fail. Now, this is funny. Got that apart. This is welded. Oh, no worries. I'll just zap it off right there, flip it around, and weld it back on. Just, you know, a little more work, but hey, when you're messing with old iron, you just got to expect this kind of stuff to happen. All right, that's done. I had to do this one over. When I cut it off, I cut it at the wrong angle. And so I welded it back on in its original position and then cut it again and then flipped it around, welded it on, so now it's pointing in. So the next step is to bolt the brackets back on here and hoist this up. See how it fits. I'm going to leave this bumper in 2 halves. Once I had it up there the first time yesterday, it was so big and bulky and unwieldy to handle by myself. This way, this is a lot lighter. Yeah, I'm going to have to do some monkey axe, you know, to get fingers behind here to bolt things together once I get the second piece up there. But hey, that's just the way it goes. Second attempt, success. So tomorrow I'm going to see if I can hoist the second half up there and bolt it up. I'm not going to do it today because the wind came up. So not a good time for an old man to be on a ladder. So that part's done. All right, I got that little bracket bolted in. I've got a temporary tie wire across there just to keep things stable. I'm going to round up some ratchet straps, hoist the other section of bumper, which is a lot lighter than this one. Hoist that up, temporarily ratchet strap it in place because it's just me and I got to get bolts and stuff in the holes and trying to balance that thing at the same time. More than this old man wants to try. You know that saying, the reason why women live longer than men? Yeah. Don't try this at home. Well, we're all bolted up. I don't know if you can see in there or not. But yeah, both sides. Whew, that was fun. So the very last thing I got to do is find me some solar powered 3-inch diameter colored lights to fit in the old holes for the parking lights. But that's for another day. Well, there you have it. Early 60s Pontiac front bumper mounted over my shop door. Oh boy, that's a chore for an old man. That was a lot harder than my DeSoto hood canopy over the man door, person door, whatever door. But yeah, that was fun. So I'm going to wrap this one up here. Eventually when I find the lights that I want for the parking light holes, I will maybe do a quick video on that. I haven't really found anything I like online, and the local stores don't really have anything, so it may be a search for a while. I've got the back bumper for that car. Sorry for the wind. It's right here. I think I'm going to make a hitching post out of that. Something that's on the ground. But yeah, anyway, this was a fun project, albeit a little bit strenuous, but hey, as long as I can still do it, I'm gonna do it. And the brackets are hiding under there pretty obscured. I'm happy with it. So with that, I'm gonna sign off. Thanks for watching. To my new subscribers, welcome. To my old subscribers, thanks for sticking around. Hope you enjoyed this video on Redneckery and vintage auto scrap, repurposed for art, metal art, wall art. Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you later.